In this video, I'm going to walk you through the steps of setting up a simple scene in Blender using the Blender-to-Godot pipeline add-on. So I'll be using the latest version of both Blender and Godot right now, which as of this video is 4.6 stable in Godot and 5.0.1 in Blender. Before we jump into that, I just want to quickly show you how I have recently used this tool myself. I think some of you might find that kind of useful to know. I think it's become pretty well known as a rapid prototyping and level design tool, even though it does, other stuff with multi-meshes, geometry nodes, and things like that. I've done tons of videos on that stuff in the past. So just to show what that looks a little bit like in Blender, and you can see I've got all the meshes here, but I'm able to wrap a lot of simple box collisions just around these meshes. But I was able to basically prototype this scene. So we're going to do a really, really simple one today, but I just wanted to showcase that I do use this tool myself. And in this case, the game idea didn't really work out. I will show you that briefly. But it is something that I use. It's something that I think is great for rapid prototyping and just throwing something together pretty quickly. So this game design, the level design came together in pretty much a day or two. And the intent of this game was to make kind of a co-op chaos puzzle solving game where, you're playing with some friends. You work together to solve these puzzles where obviously, someone needs to be stepping on a toggle or something to pull down a ladder. The other person comes off the toggle and they realize, uh-oh, can't get up the ladder. So it was a really fun little project to work on. I didn't end up, pursuing it any further, but I probably spent about, I'd say a couple days in Blender getting all these assets configured. And then most of my time was spent in Godot. It is actually a fully functioning multiplayer game, which was a little bit ambitious for a couple weeks. But I just wanted to see if the idea had any merit or had any teeth to it. And for me as a designer and developer, that's valuable because I don't want to spend too much time on an idea that it's not going anywhere, right? If there's an idea that I want to prototype and see how it feels, that's great, but I don't want to spend my whole life doing it, So we will start on the Blender side here. First things first, you do need to make sure that the add-on is installed. So in Blender, you can do that by installing from disk. You'll probably use the Python file to install in newer versions of Blender. And once it's installed, you should see this. We're at version 2.5.5. Okay, so it is an N panel add-on. So you press the N key and it will be here on the side. We're just going to do a very, very simple scene here. We'll make this kind of a floor sort of object. So we'll set box static body. That's all default. Set collisions. And maybe we'll just start with that as a base, and then we will bring some other things in here. So the next thing we need to do before exporting, we set up the export path. We only need to do this once. So once you've found your Godot project, you might have an assets folder or something like that you want to throw some stuff in. So we're just going to call this test scene.gltf. Okay, so you accept that, you press export, and then we come to the Godot side. So we've seen the asset import here, but there's no real, special instruction on here. So this is the second step of this process. You have to go to the asset lib and find the pipeline. So as kind of an interesting aside, it does look like there's another pipeline tool out there. I do encourage people to check that out. Let me know what you think. If there is a tool that's better, I am kind of at a point where I'm more than happy to pass the mantle over if there's something that replaces my tool, because updating this does take a lot of effort. But in any case, we will install my version of the tool. Okay, so that's installed, and we're going to create a quick scene here. Once this is set up, the last step that you need to do, you can do this on a per model basis, or you can do it for every file in your project. But we're going to go to import, and we're going to set the import script here. Go to add-ons, and you're looking for the pipeline and GLTF importer. Hit re-import. Okay, so you get some messages here. Hopefully everything's good and there's no errors. We can drag this into the scene, and then we get this. So nothing too much happening here right now. We just have a static body and a cube. Okay, so far you probably could have done most of this with import hints, but this does do some smart reordering of meshes and keeps everything nice and consistent. So the real magic of the pipeline is just the iteration speed. So if we want to do something else, let's say we want to do a more complicated kind of shape, maybe something like this, right? And something that's got an L shape or something strange like that, we can quickly author a collision that's just going to wrap to this very nicely. So what we'll do is we'll turn on X-ray here. We'll duplicate some of these verts. We'll separate them, duplicate these, and separate. So now we've got kind of a few cubes here. And what I'll do is 3 and 4, I'm going to parent to our original one, which is 1. And in fact, we might have made an extra cube there, looks like. So let's just hide, let's call this floor, and let's hide that. Let's call this is going to be our body. And then we should have a couple of collision shapes. Okay, so I did accidentally duplicate something once too many times. We'll just delete that little bit. And so these other two pieces, cube 2 and 3, these are going to form the collider for the main body. So we can go ahead and click on these two. We'll set wireframe, discard mesh, and we don't need a body, so it's not going to have any body whatsoever. It's just going to be a collision shape. And we'll set those collisions and then parent them to the body. Okay, so Control P to parent. And now the body is the parent of these, two other meshes. So we'll bring back the floor and let's do this. We're going to set it's not going to have any collision. We're going to set this to be a rigid body. And we're going to turn these two off, these flags here, and we'll just hit set. Right, so now we have this rigid body that's a bit of a different shape, right? Bit of a complex shape. And, let's set this up just like this. Don't need to save the Blender file right now, but I'll export it. And of course, we get this come into Godot. It doesn't seem like a totally complicated thing, but actually all of the reparenting of origins and transforming everything so it snaps perfectly is not really a trivial operation. That's where a lot of work and dedication has kind of gone into for this add-on. So we can see that in this case, the two shapes that we're dealing with are very tight to this mesh. So that's something I definitely focused on. I wanted to make sure that the collision shapes would be all good. Obviously, there's other GLTF things that you can just lean on in terms of colors and things like that. So we could change this to like a dark color. We could go on material preview just to see. And maybe this mesh here, we want to change to be, I don't know, some other color, right? So we can quickly export that, jump back to Godot, and we'll see all these changes happen pretty much instantaneously, okay? So there is kind of a leftover scene here that you can delete when you're ready to be done with the import process. This is your game scene. It's not any more heavyweight than anything else. It uses resources that are packed in the GLTF file. And when we play the game here, let's just select current. We'll save our scene. So if we want to actually see this game happen here, let's just throw a camera 3D in. We will, mount it to our current view, and we'll add the sun, add a directional light, and let's hit play. Okay, so you see very, very quickly here, we have this rigid body. We get a collision that's accurate. All right, so we can see our contacts, everything's good. And so this is meant to be really a rapid prototyping / level design tool. Hopefully you can see how quick it is to use. When everything is hooked up, you don't have to, do this export path anymore. That's a one-time deal. If you want to set that for your whole project, you can do that as well. You come to import defaults, go to scene, and then you can set it for every model. Now, I don't do this myself because certain models in my projects I bring through the pipeline if I want to generate some collisions really quickly. Other parts of my games, particularly animated bodies, character bodies, I don't bring through this pipeline, okay? So you guys can check out, there's many more videos on my channel. I'm going to quickly plug the fact that I do lots and lots of other content on Blender, on Godot. I recently did a series on rendering server that people really, really liked. And I think I want to continue that and do one on the physics server and multi-threading soon. I think those topics would be really good to cover, and I think people would enjoy them. So anyways, that's it from me. Grab the pipeline if you like. Let me know what you think. And as per usual, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all next time.